Hi guys, it's Anissa. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I did another full face of testing new makeup. I did not do this intentionally. A lot of these products I have already tried. I just got them in different colors. The eyeshadow primer I've tried, just got a different color. I've tried the eyeshadow formula, just in a different color. I've tried the powder, just in a different color. I tried the lip liner, just in a different color. To say the least, I'm very happy with how today's makeup turned out. I did go ahead and let you guys know in the beginning of the video, my lighting is a little bit different than normal. My big ring light went out, so I feel like I am not as bright and radiant as I usually am. But throughout the video, I almost felt like, and I can never tell till I actually go back and look at the footage, but looking in the viewfinder with the lights not being so bright, the makeup almost looks way more true to how it does in person. If you are interested to see how I came up with this makeup look, then make sure to keep on watching. But before we go any further, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. I try to post on this channel once a week when life allows, so you never have to miss me for too long. Let's just go ahead and get into it. There wasn't gonna be anything that stopped me from filming this video today. So I kind of have a little bit of a bootleg lighting situation. I waxed my lip like a month and a half ago, and it's just now starting to heal up, and I waxed them yesterday, and apparently I just love creating these little cuts on my face. Patrick Ta She's Juicy Lip Mask. The product looks like getting cold where I am, so my lips are extra chapped. We are gonna go ahead and start with the eyes, and I do have a new brow pencil today, Rare Beauty Brow Harmony pencil and gel, and this is in the color Cool Brown. On one side you have your pencil, and then the other side is a gel. Usually I go in with a pencil and then a pomade, but this pencil is actually a little bit thicker. It's like a triangular shape, if you guys can see that. So I'm hoping that it's not too thick to outline my brows with, but I know I can definitely fill in with this. Formula is very creamy. It has a good amount of pigment. I thought that I was going to struggle a little bit more than I did to fill in, only because of how wide this pencil is. I'm used to having something really tiny. I definitely struggled more on this brow. I really like the formula. I just feel like if you're like me and you still like the carved out brow look and your brows are a little bit thinner like mine, you're really gonna have a hard time getting a super precise outline, especially my tail. I keep my tail really thin, having to use the point of the triangle, but after I favor that point for so long, it's just gonna dull out. But it did take me a little bit longer. Sometimes when I'm not wearing eyeshadow, I do my brows last. This is not a product I would do my brows last with, because I'm gonna have to clean my brows up with this product. I feel like if you have fuller brows than I do, you'll really like this, and it'll be super quick for you to fill your brows in. I am going to clean up underneath the brows with a new concealer, R.E.M Beauty Concealer in the color Tan 4G. Now, when I went to pick out this concealer, I actually had a pretty hard time finding my shade, only because there are so many different shades, so many different undertones. I think there's 60 shades in this concealer. That does have really good coverage, and I didn't even use that much. I used a little less on this brow because I'm finding that a little goes a long way. I actually really like that. Not hanging onto my skin weird whatsoever. I feel like that actually did a really good job at giving me full coverage right underneath the brows. And that's what I love. I love that clean canvas look because it just makes the brows look so much more defined. I'm going in with another brow pencil because when I was carving out my brows, the formula of that brow pencil is almost so waxy that it was like sitting on top of my brows. I did say I like the formula, but then I was looking at it. Something's off. My eye products are repeat products, but in different colors. A while back, I tried this R.E.M Beauty Matte Liquid Eyeshadow. This one right here is in the color Sup. Depending on the lighting that I'm in, depends on what it looks like. So this actually looks like a little bit more pinky under these lights, but when I got it in store, it looked very neutral. But it's okay because I'm doing more of a pinky eye look anyway, but I thought that these just looked beautiful on the eyes, and I felt like they gave such a good base. They're just so pigmented, so blendable. I'm starting on the lid and then working my way up. And these aren't so fast drying that you don't have a lot of time to work with them. I do apply it one eye at a time because they do dry rather quickly, but it's not like you put the product on your face, it's not gonna move. That's not the case. So I'm just gonna put a little bit more higher up. This formula is actually thinner than the P. Louise base, and I feel like it actually has a little bit more pigment to it. And I just love how many colors these come in. They also have shimmers that I should totally try. But the drugstore really doesn't have anything like this. A matte liquid eyeshadow, yes, the drugstore has plenty of shimmery liquid eyeshadows, but not matte. It doesn't hang onto the eye weird. It gives me the perfect amount of correction. You can definitely tell a difference. I feel like this would also be really pretty too. No eyeshadow and just say I wanted to leave my eyes like this. 10 out of 10, I love these. This has been one of my favorite products that I have tried this year thus far. And yes, you know, it is the end of the year, so we are almost ready for Best of Beauty. I have one more of these LA Girl Master palettes. This is the Pro Master eyeshadow palette, and this one actually is more of a pinky gold type of vibe. The 16 pan eyeshadows are so underrated. I do not hear anybody talking about them. The shimmers are just as good as the mattes. They're so buttery, so smooth. Incorporate more purple / pink. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this color right here. And what I love about this mirror is that it's so huge. This color on the inside and outside, I kind of want to do like a halo eye today. Oh my gosh, like these colors, they build so beautifully. They just blend like a dream. They're not patchy. So now I'm just gonna put that on the inside as well. I like more drugstore eyeshadow than I do high end. Then I'm just gonna do the same thing over here. I feel like having that kind of more pinky base is making my blending look a lot more seamless than it usually does. It could just be the shadows because I know these shadows are good, but guys, like I'm barely having to do any blending. I'm gonna go in with this dark color and I'm just gonna put that on the outer crease to give some dimension. Then just taking a clean brush to make sure that everything is nice and blended around the edges. What I love about these palettes as well is that you have true shimmers, but then you have glittery shimmers. I'm gonna mix these two on just the inner part of my lid. You see that part of my lid where there's really not much color? That's where this is gonna go. Kind of more neutral gold pink color. Put that right like as a topper. I kind of don't expect anything but greatness from those LA Girl shadows, and the formula is consistent across the board. As much as I do love drugstore eyeshadow, I have found that especially with ColourPop and Morphe, sometimes the different color stories, the formula isn't the same for the mattes and the shimmers. The palettes aren't as consistent as these are. I went ahead and just finished with a little winged liner and just put on some hydrating face primer. I do have a new blurring face primer, so that is what we're going to use next. R.E.M Beauty Blurring Primer. Definitely a silicone-based primer, but it's weird because it really reminds me a lot of the Milani No Pore Zone because it definitely is like that silicone-y texture, melts into the skin and gets thinner. It has a very hydrating feel to it. This is what it looks like. So it definitely has like that silicone-y texture, but the more you work it in, the more it morphs into the skin. I know a lot of people do not like silicone-based primers because of the way that they feel, but I feel like you would like this silicone-based primer because it doesn't feel like silicone. I'm just using a very small amount on my problem areas. I'm just gonna spray my face with a little bit of primer water. Oh yeah, by the way, my hair's straight. It's been a couple days. Usually first day or two, I do a double take when I look in the mirror, and then after that, I'm like, okay, yeah, we get it. Patrick Ta Cream Foundation and Finishing Powder. This is in the color Tan 3, and I believe that this has more medium coverage. So I do have a powder foundation that we're going to use. Patrick is very, very intentional with his titles because this is a finishing powder. So this is not going to be something that adds a whole lot of coverage. It's gonna set the makeup more so than give it coverage. Favorite thing about Patrick Ta's packaging, I love that he separates the creams and the powders with this little clear package. On one side of my face, I am going to do brush, and then the other side I'm gonna do sponge. I found that with cream foundations and pot foundations, stick foundations, I do prefer a brush just because the formula is a little bit thicker than a liquid. I mean, that's not a secret, but that does not always mean that it is more heavy feeling. It just means that a brush sometimes works it into the skin a little bit better. Praying that my matches. Okay, I think we can make it work. First impression, the color's not great, but I think I can make the color work. Very, very lightweight, but as I'm putting it on, it just looks like skin. And I would say it does have medium coverage because it's not covering all the issues that I have, but it is covering some. I feel like on my face, this looks a little bit more pink, but then in the pan, it looks more neutral. You guys can see how creamy the formula is. I always go really light on the forehead. A trick that I've learned to make your makeup look less cakey. If you can, if you have a lot of problem areas, spot conceal first. Definitely like more of a natural makeup type of moment. Looking up close, I actually like the brush side a little bit more. I feel like I definitely got a little bit more coverage with the brush. Your skin but better though type of foundation. I used to only like full coverage foundations, and then I realized with the help of concealer and powder, you can achieve a full coverage. Just because your foundation isn't full coverage doesn't mean that you can't achieve full coverage glam. It's also very lightweight. I mean, I don't feel like I really even have foundation on. I am just going to go around the top of the brow. We're gonna start with under eye primer, which is something I don't think I've ever tried on this channel. R.E.M Beauty Cooling Blurring Under Eye Balm. When I was in the store, I was like, you know what? I really don't put any primer underneath my eyes. All I do is eye cream. And it's so funny because you don't think about the fact that you're doing something or not doing something until somebody points it out sometimes. I actually have a lot of texture and fine lines underneath my eyes. I feel like I could possibly benefit from using an under eye primer. And even when I do use primer, I really don't put it underneath my eye. Very, very similar consistency to the blurring primer that I used. So I was like, okay, is this the same formula and product, but just in different packaging? So that's what we're here to find out today. So it does have that silicone-based feel, but again, it really does have that cooling and hydrating feeling. If I had to pick one concealer to use for the rest of my life and never use anything else, it would definitely be the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. Too Faced Born This Way ERETHRAL Light Concealer. A more medium coverage concealer, which I do not mind. I really don't, because I have been starting to use 2 concealers. So as long as I can achieve that full coverage with 2, I'm good. The thing I love about the Too Faced Born This Way so much is that it's so creamy, but it gives such high coverage. I have this in the color Caramel Drizzle, so I just wanted to see how this compared to the original, and I'm hoping that they don't get rid of the original because that would be really sad. The original is a tried and true. I also love the foundation. I used to very much so be one of those people that was like, if it's not full coverage, I don't want it. I'm not like that anymore because I know that I can achieve full coverage with 2 concealers. And quite frankly, I use 2 concealers because I like to use one that is more my skin tone like this one. And then right on the very inside of my eye, like right up here where I'm applying my product now, I go in with a lighter concealer. The result that using 2 different colors gives me cannot be achieved with just one concealer. So it's not the fact that the concealers aren't good on their own. That's not it at all. But I've also found too that I don't have to use as much powder underneath my eyes because a lot of the times I like to use a powder that is lighter. So I like to have coverage underneath my eyes, but if I have coverage before I even do powder, I don't have to use that much. We're gonna do a sponge on this side. I haven't looked up close, but look at how pretty that looks. Usually I can tell a difference between the brush side and the sponge side, but they both honestly look really, really pretty. I had nothing but high expectations for this concealer considering the family that it comes from. Honestly, I don't see a huge difference as far as like the texture and stuff goes underneath my eyes as it pertains to that under eye primer. I feel like I am gonna have to use that under eye primer with products that I know and love to really be able to tell you guys if there's a drastic difference. But I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my lighter concealer, and then we are going to set underneath the eyes. We are gonna go ahead and set underneath the eyes, and this is also not a new product, ColourPop No Filter Loose Setting Powder, but I have this one in the color Translucent. I love using Banana for underneath my eyes to give me that brightening effect, but I'm just gonna go ahead and use this Translucent today to set underneath the eyes. Before we set underneath the eyes, I do want to go ahead and use some cream blush. I've used the Rare Beauty liquid blush, and I've also used the bronzer stick. I do not like the darker colors in the bronzer sticks for bronzer, but I love them for blush. I love this color because I do not have any other cream blushes that even look like this. Rare Beauty melting blush in the color Nearly Rose. Tread lightly with this because if this is anything like the liquid, very, very pigmented. I usually go for more brown pinks, and this is like a true pinky pink. I do like the fact that that's buildable. People are like, oh, the product's so pigmented. Yeah, that's great and all, but if you use too much, like that can also be just as bad as the opposite problem, which would be not having enough pigment, because then you're stuck with too much pigment, and then if it doesn't blend, you're in trouble. So when it comes to blush, I'm really not so much concerned about pigment as I am blendability and buildability. It's not pulling my makeup off from underneath, which I really love. You can have the most beautiful makeup look. And if you use a cream blush that has pulled your makeup off from underneath, it will literally look like you have 2 stripes on your face. I have a lot on right now. Put on a little bit more than what I would want with my end result because I am going to set my face with a colored powder. So therefore that colored powder is gonna kind of tone down the pigment. Before I set all over my face, I'm gonna set underneath my eyes. See, like look underneath that eye. I have a lot of fine lines. I don't really care as long as I can blend it out and fix it. So that's also why I like to do my concealer and then my cream blush, because I can kind of see what the concealer is gonna do for a little bit. I'm always really impressed when I can blend them back out and they look like I just applied them, which is what is going on with this eye over here. I may have used a little bit too much. It did blend into the skin. I don't mind if a translucent powder lightens underneath my eyes a little bit because I do like underneath my eyes to be bright. But the only problem with that is I don't want it to give me flashback. Okay, see, look, I used less on that eye and I didn't have the same issue as I did over here. So I definitely used a little bit too much. Set the face with this finishing powder. I've been seeing on TikTok that people have actually been going around their face with translucent setting powder and then using a pressed powder. It makes sense to do that translucent powder because then you have everything set and your makeup isn't going to move when you put your powder on. Because sometimes if you have like a natural finish foundation that doesn't really dry down and you go in with a colored powder, it actually can look a little splotchy on your face because your powder just absorbs right in with that liquid foundation and it's like, oh, let me stick to you. It's kind of like the difference between not setting your eyeshadow primer and setting it. When you set it, it gives the shadows a smooth base to go on to, versus when you don't set it, it's going to be a little bit more tacky. I feel like that is going to help solve my issue that I have sometimes with my pressed powder looking blotchy. Probably only necessary if you are using a like natural finish foundation, because if you're using a matte finish foundation, that already dried down. That actually did a good job at mattifying. See, it really didn't give me any more coverage. That powder reminds me a lot of the Charlotte Tilbury powder, just with a little less coverage. I do want more coverage on the face. I'm gonna go ahead and use a powder foundation, CoverGirl Outlast Extreme Wear Powder Foundation, and I have the color 862 Natural Tan. This claims to have a buildable full coverage. It's supposed to be breathable and non-drying and does not crack or cake. Little trick when you're going to pick out your pressed powder, 9 times out of 10, it is going to look a little bit darker on the face than it does in the pan. So I try to go with something that is like just a little bit lighter than me or very similar. I'd rather it be too light than too dark, because once you get into having that too dark problem, that's where we start to look splotchy. Oh my gosh. Do you guys see that? Ooh. Okay, definitely has coverage. I really hope my camera picked up on that. Powder foundation, very, very smooth. It does not feel heavy whatsoever. I'm really hoping that it picked up on that first swipe of product over here, because you could just tell where I had placed my brush from how much pigment this gave. I was gonna go in with a little bit more powder blush, but I really feel like I still have the perfect amount of pigment from that blush. Back to my brows really quickly and just finish them with this brow gel. I feel like I'm not gonna like this brow gel because it looks a little gray. It's gray looking. I don't like that. I get that it's cool, but look. Like, it looks like I just put concealer in my eyebrow. That's a no. I have a full coverage look on, but it does not look like I have foundation, concealer, and powder on. I'm really gonna give it to that foundation, because I feel like if that foundation weren't so lightweight and skin-like, it would look a little bit more makeup-y than it does. I think I've tried 2 or 3 of the Rare Beauty lip liners. The first one that I got, I thought it was a little bit too light, so I went ahead and got a darker color. I didn't realize they had so many colors. Rare Beauty Kind Words Matte Lip Liner, and I have this in the color Strong. I wanted to go ahead and shout out that Patrick Ta lip mask. That, number one, left my lips looking and feeling so soft. It got rid of all my dryness and crackles, but there's also still product. It has longevity. I always apply my lip mask first, that way it has time to sink in, but sometimes I found that by the time that I'm ready to do my lips, it either dries my lips out even more, or it looks like I didn't even put any product on. I just added a gloss. No lipstick. I'm living. That looks, ooh, ah, oopsies. I do have a new eyeliner, ColourPop BFF Cream Gel Eyeliner, and this is in the color Sunnyvale, and I never bring my liner in all the way. I stop where my pupil ends. I'm gonna take these 2 colors right here on a pencil brush. Look at that, the difference. And I really want to smoke those out. Guys, I am obsessed with my skin. I don't know which product it is, but my skin looks so soft and filtered. Set the face really quickly. Last thing is mascara. This is actually not new either. Let me know if you guys are the only ones that feel this way. When it comes to the drugstore, I feel like I get very overwhelmed because a lot of the packaging looks very similar. A lot of the eye products are in this type of packaging and it almost all kind of starts to look the same. Maybelline Lash Discovery Waterproof Mascara. This does claim to have a mini brush that lengthens and defines with no clumps. Super tiny wand. I was really excited, but this formula isn't doing much. It's doing a little something, but that's after 3 coats. I love the wand. It's the perfect size. If one product had to be a flop, it's fine. It's the mascara. I can go in with something different. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. This is the finished look. I am definitely gonna have to rate this like a 9.5 out of 10. Usually go over everything that I love and didn't like. I loved everything except for these 2 products, the mascara and the brow pencil. That's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.